Hey everybody, it's Aldo Gandhi, and I just want to let you know really quickly that our swag shop is reopened. DeepDishTees.com is where you go, and that's tees with T-E-E-S. Clever name, guys. They're the new home of our merchandise. You can get t-shirts, you can get caps, you can get coffee mugs, you can get hoodies, you can get all sorts of good stuff, and you'll help out the bar room with the purchase. So head over to DeepDishTees.com. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Bare Truth. The man next to me, he's the investigator. He's the Sherlock Holmes. He's the Columbo. He is the sleuth. He looks at the tape and he tells us this is what happened and this is why it happened and all that good stuff. Danny Shimon, how are you, brother?
I'm doing very well tonight, especially since you're back. I know you're on vacation, and I missed you, man. My Thursday night is not the same anymore. I mean, I know I spent some time with the kids. It was fun getting, spend Thursday night with the kids. But it's just like me and Aldo breaking down tape. You putting out, Matt Nagy's going to get fired this week. Rumors, not
yeah,
coming
that
true.
didn't work out too well for me.
Yeah, I missed you, man. Well, it's good to have you back. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw in Slack, Neil Stopchinski is already talking about maybe going down to Mobile, Alabama for the January Senior Bowl. I'm all in, man. We got to start making our plans. Now, do you know if the East-West Shrine game is at the same time, the same weekend?
There was talk about that, but I'd be surprised if they would do that, because that's like the second most popular one, and typically it's always a week prior to the Senior Bowl. So now I know they're Eric Galco's running it this year, and it's in Vegas, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. They moved the location to Vegas, so that would be a mistake in my opinion if you're going to do that, run up against the Senior Bowl, because the Senior Bowl is the showcase in terms of the draft talent, the all-star talent, if you will. So no, I don't think so. I don't know for sure 100%. I'd be shocked though if it goes head to head versus the Senior Bowl.
Well, people in the chat room are saying wasn't the same without you guys last Thursday. Please fire Matt Nagy.
Aldo tried. He put it out there. It just didn't take shape.
I thought my word had more weight over at Hallis Hall. See what happens.
They say if you put it out in the atmosphere, things might happen, right? Positive thinking and all that stuff, but
didn't happen. And then Ray asked, how was my vacation? It was good. It was very good, but I'm hoping that when we go down to Mobile, Alabama, Danny and Neil and I are going to have even more fun. By the way, Danny, did you hear the news today? I heard this from Greg Gabriel. He told me that yesterday he gets a call from somebody in the NFL saying, because they know that Greg has been doing work for the East-West Shrine game. And he was told, what the hell is going on? How come you guys are not going to have the weigh-ins with the measurements and all that stuff? We need that. We need that. And Greg says, I'll look into it. I'll call Eric Galco. He hangs up the phone, and 5 seconds later, the phone rings, and it's Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, and he's complaining about the same thing. What the hell's going on, Greg? You got to find out what the hell's going on. So apparently, Eric Galco told Greg Gabriel that this is a dictum from the NFL, not to do the measurements of the players. They want to do it all private, away from cameras, away from fans and journalists. They're going to videotape them and make the videotape available to all the clubs. Isn't that weird?
So that's only for the East-West Shrine game.
Both
Senior Bowl as well. Interesting. Yes. I did not know that. Really?
Yes.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
And so
that's the one you and I have been to the Senior Bowl weigh-ins, and that's a great spot to kind of look at reaction of because that's why you see the player, basically in their speedos and their underwears or whatnot.
Right.
But a lot of times you could tell a lot by the player's body form. You can tell if he fits your scheme, your system, size, weight. The size of his thighs, legs, calves, all that stuff. So a lot of times we see a lot of GMs and hobnobbing with each other. And that's what I think a lot of the the off season trade talks and some of the play acquisition stage gets started there as well. So that's gonna be that's like a highlight, one of my highlights there for that whole week there. So
yeah, I mean, I remember one time we stationed the camera and you were like in front of the stage and you would talk a little bit about the player, what he looked like and what his measurements were and so forth. It was fun, and it's a great way to get to like an introduction to all the players you're going to be covering the entire week.
All right.
So that's not going to happen. So we'll see what they come up with at the Senior Bowl, and hopefully I'd love to get over to Vegas to do the East-West Shrine game. So hey, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm saying road trip.
Yeah, road trip. Come on, guys. Everyone in the chat room is invited. We'll all pour into my Ford Explorer and we'll head over to Vegas. That'd be fun.
One of these old Astro vans. We got 2 or 3 of them, and just
oh my God.
Down to.
My wife is on a kick here. Here I am digressing where we should be analyzing tape. Well, my wife wants to buy one of those. What are they called? Astro Stream. Those trailer homes. Jetstream, I think they're called.
The not mobile home, but they're I forgot. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
she wants one. I'm like, I don't want.
Those are expensive.
They're expensive, and I don't want to deal with one.
Yeah. Then you can take us all onto your Jetstream mobile home.
It is. Beth wants one too. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's called an Airstream. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we do some live shows from the Airstream from
that would be fun.
From Aldo's ride.
That would be fun. And just like everything else in my life, what I buy from my wife, I end up taking it away from her. Like this computer, by the way.
There you go.
Anyway, before we get into what we're going to do today, folks, is we're going to dive into Justin Fields and that fantastic final drive to put the Chicago Bears ahead in that Pittsburgh Steelers Monday night game. But before we do that, I want to get Danny's overall impressions about that game. And then we'll start there and then delve into Justin.
Yeah, just like on the post game show after the game, as a game, obviously it was one of those gut punches because the Bears should have won that game. I think initially starting off that game, the Bears came out a little bit slow. I looked like the Steelers were flying. It looked like the Steelers were going to outclass them in terms of play on the field, energy, coaching, and all phases of the game. It looks like the Steelers were out there, but then the Bears slowly just kind of got into it. Love seeing Eddie Goldman dominating the line of scrimmage like we've been accustomed to seeing him doing that, and then the Bears really kind of focusing in on the run. I mean, as a team, they gave up 105 yards rushing to the Steelers, but they held Najee Harris to 62 yards. I think under 3 yards a carry, if I'm not mistaken, as well. So that was a pretty good effort there in terms of the run defense coming off of that debacle versus the 49ers. But yeah, definitely a game that the Bears should have won. Obviously, the officiating played a big role in that game in terms of why the Bears lost. I reviewed, going through the tape. I looked back again from different angles on that James Daniels penalty that he whiffed. I mean, Daniels whiffed on the guy. He didn't even touch him. If he did, it maybe nicked his lower shin area of the defender. But that was the touchdown pass to Jimmy Graham that was nullified because of that penalty. Obviously, the roughing the passer penalty that would have given that was on the Steelers, would have been on the Steelers, would have given the Bears a 1st and goal. Would have extended that drive there as well. So I know the NFL came out and said, a mea culpa, if you will, that the officiating really was poor in that game. But you know what, that's still going to be a loss on the Bears record, and it's not something that's going to make the Bears feel any better. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was a game that they should have won. I feel they should have won the last 2 games, right? They shouldn't be sitting here right now at 3-6. They should be sitting here right now at 5-4, in my opinion. So, but they are 3-6, and unfortunately, they both those games were losses. But yeah, I mean, for me right now, these next 2 weeks are, if you will, if you want to make a playoff run, a serious playoff run, you got to win these next 2 games. You got to beat Baltimore at home, and you got to go up to Detroit on Thanksgiving Day and beat them as well, and get yourself back into that playoff contention in the NFC.
So Do you think that the playoffs are even something that we should consider? Your gut feel right now.
Well, I mean, right now it's hard to sitting here looking at 3-6, and seeing how the defense has kind of come apart the last couple of weeks in terms of the pass defense. They were they're generating pressure on the quarterback. That has kind of stopped now with obviously with Quinn first getting the COVID, and now Khalil Mack missing the last two games. The pass rush really has been non-existent, and I think that needs to kind of rev up again. And we saw some of the corners getting beat now with no pass rush. The corners are gonna have to cover a little bit more, and obviously both those corners are young guys, so they're kind of going through their baptism by fire, if you will. And getting better, but also still taking their lumps there versus NFL receivers. So defensively, I think they're gonna have to kind of regroup here. I know they signed Bruce Irvin today. That to me is a bad sign in terms of getting Khalil Mack back anytime soon, unless they're gonna cut Cassius Marsh after that one game. So of course Irvin coming off of a torn ACL, only played I think 2 games last season for the Seahawks and tore his ACL, so he's coming off of that. So I'm not sure he's going to be ready to play this week. We'll see. But so yeah, definitely get the pass rush going, get the defense flying at the quarterback again. We talked about Eddie Goldman earlier. I love seeing him dominate the line of scrimmage like the way he did, and hopefully that continues with him and Akeem Hicks getting healthy and them being a more stout up front in terms of run defense, and then get some pass rush and then get the defense going. If defense gets going and we're seeing the offense now put up some points, like 2 weeks in a row, we've seen Justin Fields take small steps. There are still some mistakes. There are some rookie mistakes that we're still seeing here. There was a couple we're going to point out tonight in our tape review, but he's definitely getting better. And to me, this last week was what I call his coming out party. This is where he told the NFL guys, take notice, right? Hostile environment. In 2 minutes, a little over 2 minutes left in the game, national TV. The guy was cool, calm, and collected like he's been throughout his career. One of the things I loved about him when I scouted him was just his demeanor. The kid who does not get rattled, drove the team down the field, gave them the lead. Unfortunately, the Steelers were able to drive back and win the game, but that was all positives for me. And seeing the way Justin Fields was able to kind of take leadership there, and that's only going to give his teammates confidence in him, and his coaching staff more confidence in him. And I think now let's see him get better in terms of, again, getting better downfield, making some more accurate throws, going through a progression, not locking in on your number one primary target pre-snap, which we see a little bit here. We see him when he does go through a progression, when he has time in the pocket. That kid that is able to find receivers open downfield. But the thing is now is if offensive line can get better, give him some protection there, allow him to get more comfortable. The kid thrives in the pocket. A lot of these young quarterbacks, they are all guys that are shotgun quarterbacks, guys that like to get more action in terms of being active outside the pocket. But Justin Fields, very impressive in terms of his adjustment, to be able to go under center, play, do the play action stuff under center, and then drop back 2-3 steps back, look around, and get rid of the football. So all little things, all little baby steps you see in a rookie quarterback progressing, getting better. Again, mistakes are there. Going to have to clean those up, no doubt. But that to me is hope. And I told you, although when he started or was named the starter for that after that Lions game, I said, for me, it's all about Justin Fields now. This season is all about Justin Fields. You make the playoffs, great. That's the cherry on top. But for me, I want to see Justin Fields get better and better and better. And by the end of the season, you're going to know for sure you have a future starting quarterback here.
Right. And I think a great soundbite, besides what you just said about Justin Fields, but a great soundbite from Bill Lazor, the offensive coordinator, to set us up for our Justin Fields talk, is this one when he was asked about the long-term growth, what he sees in Justin Fields in terms of his long-term growth. And this is what he said.
I just think improvement. Again, we spend a lot more time looking at the small picture than the big picture. So most of the questions I get asked are about the big picture because that's the headlines. But most of what we deal with is play by play, get better, add them up, pile them up, and then especially coming off of this week, you end up as a coach watching so much video over and over. You watch it by situation. And so you're seeing him, but you're also seeing the scheme, and you're trying to evaluate, are we doing the right things for the people we have? So when you come out, you're coming out of the bye head full of what you just studied for a week or so, minus the fishing time, and now applying that to the next team. So I guess the big picture is looking good, but that's not what we deal in that much.
And the reason I like that soundbite, because that is in essence what we're going to do here today. We're going to go play by play and analyze that final drive, see what he did well, which is a lot, and see what he didn't do well. There were a couple of blemishes. I think that we'll all agree were blemishes. But you ready to get started, amigo?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, let's call up the first play, which was the first down, 1st and 10. So this is after the kickoff where Grant ran for about 17 yards, landed at the 25-yard line. And again, how we've done this, if you're joining us for the first time, the first angle that we show is the broadcast copy, then the all 22, and then the end zone copy. Danny, it is all yours.
Right. So obviously first play, this is the drive that's going to, he's going to get him downfield here and try to, give him the score to go ahead score. And right away, it's a nice completion here to A-Rob. And it's the one thing that I want to see continue here. The one thing I like about him here is he kind of pinpointed A-Rob in the pocket, pre-snap, kind of knew where he was going to go with it and just waited for A-Rob to kind of, stem his route and threw it to him before he's even turned all the way. So that's nice. Again, nice, solid form in the pocket. Doesn't get rattled with some pressure coming off the edge. There was a opening there, a brief opening for him to kind of tuck it and run if he wanted to, but instead just waited for A-Rob, made the right read, went ahead and just drilled it there to Allen Robinson for a nice 9-yard completion. First play, starting this drive here. A nice way to go ahead and start it up.
Well, this too is an excellent example. I think it was Bill Lazor at today's press conference. He was talking about how young quarterbacks in college, they're taught how to make pre-snap reads. In the NFL, they got to know those pre-snap reads, but they also have to know the post-snap read. Right. And see the movement here by the Steelers? This is an excellent example that he's got to learn and pick those up and react quickly. Right, Danny?
There's another play here where we're going to show where pre-snap you're going to diagnose what the defense is doing. You have an idea in terms of maybe they're disguising something. How you're going to attack this coverage, and then post-snap. Do they fall back into a cover 2 look? Do they stick with man? For example, if you're thinking it's man, and then you got to react, right? You got to read first, and then you got to react post snap. And then there's a couple plays here we're going to show you where I think his reaction time is still not there yet. It's getting better, but he still needs to get a little bit better in that area. But yeah, here again, pre-snap looks like he's kind of looked at Allen Robinson. That's the guy he's going to go to, and then just kind of make sure that defense is what he's thinking it's going to be, and then he goes in and just kind of rips it here before Robinson even disengages from the corner.
And just as an aside here, I like what number 75 Larry Borum does here on his block. He's looking inside, and when he sees that the inside pass rush is occupied by his the right guard, he then goes out to pick up the outside rusher, number 75 here.
Right. So basically, I think Borum has really kind of looked impressive for me right now. There's some stuff there you can see a little bit. He's a rookie. Missed most of the season so far, and this was the second game here starting. But there are a couple other snaps here that I'm going to point him out where he does a nice job of recovering and also showing good awareness in terms of pass protection. There was a stunt loop there the Steelers played. There's a later clip we're going to show where he does a good job of passing off his guy and picking up the looping outside defender as well. So far so good for Larry Borum. Again, for me, offensive lineman, watching the game live, if I don't hear their name being called by the referees, that generally means they had a good game. Now I went down and I broke down the tape here with Borum. There were some plays where he was beaten off the edge pretty bad by TJ Watt, with speed, but he's one of the better pass rushers in the NFL. But luckily Justin Fields was able to get rid of the ball prior to Watt getting to him, or Bourne wasn't able to get a hand or a push or a shove, just kind of give Field a couple more seconds to get rid of the football, or the play was going away from Bourne and Watt wasn't really involved in the play. So, but definitely so far so good in terms of some encouraging signs with Larry Borum. So I like to see, that's another guy I'm going to keep an eye on in terms of the offensive line, see how he progresses as the season goes on as well. So
yeah, we definitely need him to show some promise and make that promise that he's going to be an offensive tackle or whatever position for the next 10 years. By the way, on that last play that we showed, the factor asked if those were deep curl routes on that. Do you need to see it again to answer that question, Danny?
Yeah, no, I think Robinson was running a quick hitch route to kind of run about 10, 15 yards and come back to the quarterback. In terms of the other receivers, I don't remember exactly what Mooney was running, but it looks like Robinson was running just a real quick hitch route here, kind of stops and then just comes right back to the it looks like all three receivers were running quick hitch routes.
That's what the Bears always do.
So those are typically quick hitters. That's where the receiver, runs to a certain landmark, and then he goes ahead and kind of just, stems that corner, tries to break back to the quarterback and be able to go ahead and give the quarterback a nice target to throw to.
Mm-hmm. Okay, excellent. So now we will go to the 2nd down and 1 play. The ball is now at the 35-yard line. Unfortunately, Allen Robinson, when he came back to catch that pass, he lost the 1st down. So they need a yard on 2nd down, and this is what Justin Fields dials up.
Yeah, so this is on this play we're going to see on the wide angle. You'll see a better look here, and this is what I'm talking about. Pre-snap, Justin Fields goes through it and he identifies who he's going to go with. But then post-snap, you got to react to what the defense is doing. And obviously here, there's a defensive coverage blown here by the Steelers. And look at Allen Robinson running down the seam wide open. And Fields is looking that way. Initially I'm thinking Fields is trying to look to kind of hold that safety in the middle of the field. But then if you look at the end zone copy, he's looking at that direction. He's locked in. He's zeroed in on Mooney here and just totally misses Allen Robinson. This is something that he's going to have to get better at. He can't miss these gimmies right here. That's a layup touchdown right there for Allen Robinson. Mooney makes almost a great catch, but even if Mooney makes that catch, that's still the wrong read. That throw's got to go. Allen Robinson, obviously, again, he made a pre-snap determination that he was going to go to Mooney based off the defensive setup, the defensive coverage. And if Mooney was able to, he had confidence in Mooney to go ahead and get that to win that one-on-one battle versus his defender. However, now you have to react. You got to react and see what's going on with the defense post-snap. And this is where he missed Allen Robinson. This is the 2nd time he has missed a receiver streaking down the middle of the field. Actually, the first time it was actually Darnell Mooney that he missed. I believe it was the Detroit game. I forget which game it was at, but a similar situation. He had a receiver to the outside. He was going to that outside receiver, and there was a defensive breakdown in the secondary of the opponent, and Mooney was streaking down the seam wide open, and he missed them as well. So those are things that he's gonna have to get better at in terms of reacting post snap. And I know you like your outside coverage. You like the coverage they're giving you. You like the matchup with your speed guy Mooney on the outside. But when something like this happens, when that breaks down and you have a wide open Allen Robinson streaking down the seam, that's your guy you got to go to.
And you can look at this from the all-22 here, and he really has 3 receivers that are open because Mooney is open right there. Right? He's at the 45-yard line. He's cutting to the sideline. You could throw it to him. So we know already A-Rob is going to be open in between the hashes. And then the receiver on the left, I'm not sure who that is approaching the 50-yard line, but he could be hit with a pass right there too.
Marquise. I think that's Marquise Goodwin. But I think Mooney was running an out and up. So I think he hadn't completed his route. So he couldn't throw it to Mooney at that point. He knew what Mooney was running. So that's why he was waiting. He saw that matchup. He saw that corner squat. He knew Mooney was going to run out and up versus that safety, and he wanted that matchup. And that's why he threw it to him. But again, and he obviously was waiting for him. You see there, he does a hitch there, 2 steps up in the pocket, which is nice. Steps up in the pocket, gets away from that outside pressure. But again, you have to, you're locked into Mooney there. You like that matchup, but you got to be able to see Allen Robinson streaking down the field. And even he puts his hand up, trying to get attention, get Fields' attention. But those are things that I think with more experience, with more play, with more repetition, he's going to get better at. But definitely those are the things I was talking about earlier. Times that he had a good game, great game, but he still makes some of those rookie mistakes, and those are a couple of things that he's gonna have to clean up in his future play.
Yeah, and Mule is asking why didn't A-Rob raise his hand, but his arm, but he did. Yeah, he did. Watch it when he gets here to about midfield. He's already motioning, right?
Yeah,
there.
Right there. He's like, they blew coverage. I'm gone. Throw it to me.
Exactly. I'm shocked that Justin didn't see that, but somebody said in the chat, it's a rookie mistake, and
Right.
that's going to happen. And when we were at the Family Fest, and you were in my ear, analyzing Justin, you kept saying, "Don't worry, he's going to see that. He's going to see this. It's going to take a little time, but he's going to see that." That's how much confidence you have in him as a quarterback.
Oh yeah, I mean, and if you guys remember last year, if you guys followed Draft on Tap last year, I was very high on Justin Fields. Coming into the draft process, he was a guy that I pegged as a guy that could challenge Trevor Lawrence for that first overall pick coming into last year's draft, and then just kind of end up falling down. And that's when these people were talking about knocking him during the draft process. I was losing my mind. I'm like, what are you guys watching? Are you guys not watching the same tape I've watched? You guys haven't analyzed the same tape I've analyzed, because this guy has that, that star potential here. Now, my biggest concern, and remember draft night, I was excited when the selection was made. My biggest concern was the coaching. Would Matt Nagy, break this kid, but in terms of being able to allow him to progress and basically coach him up. So that's my biggest concern. But and we saw how that was going, right? When Nagy was calling the plays, it wasn't going very well for Justin. He was getting killed back there. So I think with Laser now taking over the play calling and seeing the way that he has kind of built the offense around that running attack, the rushing attack, which is the way he should be building an offense. Now you can use that play action and now use Justin Fields' ability to get the ball down the field with accuracy and touch to be able to go and make some more points, put some more points on the board, and make the Bears a more explosive, hopefully a more explosive offense.
Yep. And to Laz's point here, that A-Rob has to be frustrated. He probably would prefer Dalton. Yeah, I mean, he's losing money. There's no doubt about it that he's losing money. It's going to be very, very difficult for him to convince any general managers out there who are looking for a wide receiver that he's the guy that's caught 200 passes over the last 2 years. I'm phrasing that poorly. What I'm trying to say is it doesn't help in the negotiations that he's going to go in with 60 catches this year as opposed to the 200, 100 each the last 2 seasons. So, and I think A-Rob has handled it very professionally. He hasn't made a stink about it publicly. Everyone that talks about him says that he has just handled it very, very well. By the way, Kelly has a question here. She says, do you think it's the work of Fields and Mooney that he just doesn't trust A-Rob? We've heard these stories that Justin Fields and Mooney would stay after practice and work together. Do you think that that's led to him maybe not trusting A-Rob?
Well, I don't know if it's just not trusting him. They don't have that cohesive bond yet, and that comes with repetition, right? And that's the thing. Good point there. Although Justin Fields touched on it this week in terms of him and Darnell Mooney. After practice, Mooney was always there to run routes with him, to kind of do Zoom calls with him. There were times he said that Mooney he'd call Mooney on a FaceTime, and Mooney's watching tape, and he's like, "Oh damn, maybe I should be watching tape as well." So he sees Mooney as kind of like a mentor, if you will. My question is, where's A-Rob at that point, right? Why isn't A-Rob staying after practice and running routes with Justin Fields once he was named the starter, to get that cohesiveness going on the field as well? So, that's the question I have. I don't question A-Rob's professionalism. I don't question his want to. Obviously, the kid is tough, and I know it's a tough year with him for this contract situation. Maybe that's playing something with him. He was hindered by that hamstring. I mean, by that ankle, and now he's got a hamstring injury. I'm not sure, but it's something that's the question I have is why isn't he there with Mooney working with Justin Fields post practice to get that timing down, to get that rhythm down? Even that, we just saw that hitch route he just ran. It was a nice throw by Justin Fields, but there was a previous throw, and actually it might be in this series, where he kind of throws it to an outside of A-Rob, not to where A-Rob was preferred the ball. So again, those little things you see on tape and you wonder, why is it still happening? I understand Dalton had all the offseason OTAs as a starter. He had all the reps, but I mean, it's part of it. But it's week 9 now. Justin Fields has been starting for a majority of the season. You should have some of that repetition built by now, at least from what I would expect, right? Yeah. But it still seems like they're just not on the same page all the time.
I totally agree with you there. Tony has a good question. Can Mooney be a number 1 receiver? This is something that I've debated in my mind a lot.
Yeah. And I think he has the potential. I mean, I would like him a little bit more bigger, just to be able to take some more pounding going across the middle. But I definitely would love to see him continue this relationship between him and A-Rob. Hopefully A-Rob can stay here, after the season, whatever contract terms they come to. But I still think he needs a big receiver. Whether it might not be a number one receiver per se, like an A-Rob, but another big guy that could go up and take some pressure away from him. I don't know if Mooney could be, a number one carry the offense type of receiver. I just don't know if he's got that ability, and especially, going, across the middle, some of those, contested catches over the middle. He's tough. He's tough as nails for a thin framed kid. He's obviously got the speed to be able to get deep, but I just need to see more before I can say he's got that number one receiver potential.
I think Lightwork has really hit upon it. He says he blames Nagy just because. Okay, this is a family show. All right, so let's go on to the next play. He has just missed on that pass, and so it's now 3rd down and 1, and this happens.
So this is a quarterback keeper. That was at the RPO option here. He ended up keeping it. The defender bit inside, and this is something he ran at Ohio State a lot. So this is something he's real comfortable doing, and that's something that a lot of people were calling for, for them to go ahead and utilize in this offense. And it was just good to see here, on 1 yard gain here. He's got that 4.4 speed we all talk about. Once that defender bit inside, there was no one there. He had the easy first down. I like the fact that he went in and got out of bounds, didn't take any unnecessary contact there because we don't want any more hits. And for one reason, this guy is a baseball player, and for some reason, his slides scare the hell out of me. Yeah. And I don't know why, because typically, guys who play baseball can slide, but there's times he's had some awkward slides, and I just cringe. So yeah, a good play, gets a first down. He knew he needed a yard, got out of bounds. He'll stop the clock as well. Again, this is crunch time here and towards the end of the 4th quarter. So I like the fact, the awareness to go ahead and get out of bounds, get the first down, and just let them move on now to the next series.
And a nice job by the offensive line there, right?
To go ahead and crash on. I'm telling you, a guy that's quietly done a pretty solid job is Jason Peters. Mm-hmm. Now, again, you ask him to get out to the next level and stick on those second level run fits is a little bit still a task for him. But, in terms of, pass blocking, being solid at left tackle, I think he's done quietly he's done a pretty good job after a first, couple of rough first couple weeks.
Yep. All right, so let's move on now. So they've just picked up the first down on that Justin Fields run. It's 1st down and 10 at the 37, and they get a incomplete pass here.
Yeah, I think this might be the one to A-Rob I'm talking about where he misses him in the inside. Actually, yep, that's the one I believe. So he kind of leads him a little bit to, A-Rob stops the route right there. Actually, A-Rob looks like he's trying to continue the route, and Justin looks like he's going to stop it. And
I think he trips a little. Take a look. I think he trips right there. See how he sort of went to the
little bit of a stumble there, but it looks like he like he's going to continue that route, and it looks like then Justin just assumes he's going to stop it right there. Mm-hmm. Again, this could be a better angle right here. And the ball is, thrown inside. Luckily, that wasn't intercepted, right? Because that's right there in the path of the defender. So, but if he can go back to that previous angle, the end zone angle, if he leads A-Rob a little bit more, I think that's a completion. Now the question is, there's another defender coming from the other side. Does he want to save A-Rob from possibly getting hit? That could be, that could also play into his thinking as well. But again, this is one where I think there's a little miscommunication here. Maybe that stumble did kind of throw timing off a little bit. That could be possible. But I just think like if he did a better job of just kind of leading A-Rob a little bit instead of making him stop for that ball there. The defender also was right there on A-Rob. That wasn't one thing with A-Rob is he's a good receiver, but he's not a guy that's going to create huge, windows, right? He's a guy that's going to be able to be physical at catch point. He's going to go up and battle with cornerbacks and make those tough, 50-50 contested catches. And that's what you got to trust A-Rob. When you see him, a sliver of his jersey being open, he's open. It doesn't matter if the defender's there or not, put it in a spot. We've seen already that he's got the accuracy. He's got the ability to throw the ball, pinpoint, and at a spot where his receiver can get to it. And just give A-Rob a chance to go up and make a play. Unfortunately, that play right there, the ball was a little bit more inside, and the defender was able to get his hands on it.
All right. So now we get to a huge play. It is this is the 2nd down and 10 play, and Justin picks up 8 yards running. Right. Let me call it back up here. It went away from me. Here it comes. Actually, I'm being told that my browser is not Oh, here it is. I think I got it now.
Is your brother still on vacation? Oh, there it is.
Yeah, right.
So he just drops back. I mean, he could have probably just tried to rifle the ball into Mooney there, but the defender was right on top of Mooney. He probably would have taken a big hit in his back. So he just figures, I'll hold on to the ball and get whatever I can. Now, the only thing is, my criticism here is cut outside of Cole Kmet there. Maybe you get a couple more yards, but he goes and goes back inside and right into the defender, which, he could have got a couple more yards if he cuts off of Cole Kmet there, but he turns it up inside. So that's my only, question there. But yeah, I mean, again, drops
don't
back.
you think he should have thrown it to Cole Kmet? Because look, Cole is wide open there.
He could have thrown it. He could have thrown it to Mooney as well, but then he just didn't like the Mooney factor in terms of the defender right behind him, and it feels like he's going to get drilled. And again, but look at the pocket. Pocket's kind of breaking down there for him to go to now to his next read. It was a little dicey there, so he ended up just going and just tuck it in, and he's got a big room there as well. So big patch of grass, just kind of tucked in and ran with it. So I'm not really hating on him for not throwing it to Kmet there. I just think that if you could have cut up inside of Kmet, you might have got the first down. Yeah,
I agree. By the way, take a look, everybody, take a look at Sam Mustafa here at center. The way he just picks up the number 95 and.
That's a nice block there, but I mean, there's another clip that we're going to show. It's not going to be very. All right. So Sam gives it and he takes it away. It's all it is.
Exactly. All right. So now it's 3rd down and 2 after that 8-yard pickup, and we get the big play.
Right. So this is where I think Allen Robinson is really, really sneaky in terms of his route running when he's lined up in the slot, and I think this is an area where he excels at a lot. And here you see Justin Fields kind of sees that matchup again. Talking about a pre-snap read. Notices that Robinson's going to be matched up one-on-one versus that safety. And it gives a little slight, hit bob weave inside, and he gets that outside leverage. And again, nice, beautiful throw, feather touch, right into Robinson, hitting him in stride. And these are the kind of downfield throws you want to continue to see Fields make on a consistent basis. And that's why I'm talking about now, just kind of build off each week, build off of these plays here. And I'll continue to go ahead and give him opportunities to make these type of throws downfield. So again, just identifying pre-snap, the matchup, who he liked. Similar to this play earlier with Mooney, where he liked the matchup with Mooney had. Unfortunately, once we talked about it, post-snap, if things break down, there's a coverage break, you got to be able to react real quickly. And, but here, this is the opposite here. He pre-snap, saw the matchup, liked it, got Robinson ran a good route outside that slot position, got open, over top leverage, ball thrown in nicely, right, hit him in stride. So these are the beautiful throws we talk about.
And I love his footwork here. It's just like a dancer,
Right. 1, 2, 3, bam. The back foot hits and he's ready to throw the football. And that's what you want to see. Once he gets more comfortable and you have an offensive line that can give him protection, he knows that he's going to be protected well. 1, 2, 3, bam, that ball's out, and he's got that, good release, and he's be able to get that nice, like I said, feather the ball over that 2nd and 3rd level of defender, drop it in between levels of the defense with nice touch and accuracy.
Do you think his throw here, that he's got the ball a little too low? Greg Gabriel and I were talking about that, and we kind of were determining that it's not a consistent thing that he has the ball down here and then brings it up. But he does do that some of the time. What do you think about this particular throw?
The one thing in the pocket that I want him to work on is making sure he has 2 hands on the ball. Now there, it looks like he's got both hands on the football, because a lot of times, if he drops back with just one hand with his off hand off of the ball, not protecting the football, that's where defense would come in and kind of swipe at it. Now if you have 2 hands on the ball, even if it's a little low, obviously that's not what you want. You want a little bit more mid chest and a little bit higher possibly. But if as long as he's comfortable with it, but he's got 2 hands on the football, that it's not as easy to come in and strip it from him. That's what I'm concerned about. And it looks like from that angle, he has, both hands on the football. So, and again, like you talked about, his footwork in the pocket was nice. 1, 2, 3 back foot hits, boom, ball is out. That's what you want to see on these three-step drops.
What do you think about what Ray Rojas says here? He says that that tapping of the ball that Justin does, he needs to get rid of that. Now, I see a lot of quarterbacks, and some of the greats have done that. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's just something that I don't know if it's a real real big tell. Like I said, a lot of quarterbacks do. At least a lot of it. Like you look at Josh Allen. I mean, he taps it like 2 or 3 times the Buffalo Bills quarterback, and then he rifles it in there. So guys with stronger arms can probably get away with that. Guys with a less than ideal arm strength. Those guys have to be mechanics have to be on point. You cannot give a defender any sort of inkling in terms of what you're going to do with the football, when you're going to throw it. It's kind of similar. I kind of relate it to a pitcher, right? A guy doesn't have a 99, 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He's more of a off-speed pitcher. He can't be tipping his pitches, because then they're going to be sitting on that pitch and they're going to probably rocket on him. So same thing with guys, quarterbacks with arm strength like that. Those tells, like I said, Josh Allen, there's other quarterback I can think of right now that can have that little, they pat the ball real quick, but they have the arm strength to go ahead and fit it into a tight window. So, if it becomes a problem down the road, I'm sure the coaching staff is going to go ahead and correct that for him. But again, my main concern is you're back there in the pocket, 2 hands on the football, not in 1 hand.
Yeah. Matthew Focheesy says Elway.
Elway's a good point. Yep. Elway.
Yeah, he definitely did. All right. That was one of, I think, 4 or 5 explosive pass plays that the Bears had in this game. And leading up to the game, that was one of the big problems with the Bears, is that they weren't getting those consistent 3, 4, 5 explosive plays a game. And so Bill Lazor was asked about that. What was the difference? What accounted for the fact that there were more explosive plays against the Steelers than there have been recently?
I think over the last 3 games, our number of explosives, of course, it depends how you count them, like with all statistics, but if you count 16-yard passes and 12-yard runs, that it's been increasing. So it's coming, and it's some games we come out and we had a certain set of plays that we thought would get them for us, and we kick ourselves for only getting 2 of the 5 plays called, and then you look at them and you say, well, gosh, we just didn't get the coverage that we thought at the time we thought, or maybe they actually played deeper than we thought. And so sometimes you try and you were wrong. Like as a coach, you have to go into it, look at it sometimes and say, we thought we were going to get more and we didn't. And so I think the guys feel it. They feel that they need it in order to get us more production. So I think they're encouraged to do it. I think he's encouraged to do it. I think as coaches we're trying to do it. So I think it's just we're just trying to get it to add up.
Yep, good point. I mean, and in today's NFL, you need explosive plays, man.
Yeah, and Bill, I encourage you to keep doing that, because that's I love the fact that you've stuck to the running attack. You've kind of built an identity. Finally, we've been saying, what is the Bears' identity, right? What's the Bears? Well, now we know. When Bill Lazor took over, they are a running team. They're a run first team, and now you build your passing game off of that run. The run game, right? The play action and all that stuff. So, the other thing we got to see is obviously the offensive line is coming into form a little bit. There's still some breakdowns here and there, but I think they're doing a better job in terms of giving Justin Fields some protection. Obviously, Fields has more experience. He's getting a little bit more comfortable back there in the pocket. But the other thing we got to memorize, guys, it's only 2 options really in terms of the passing game. It's either Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney. None of the other receivers have done anything. Demir Bird's been a bust. Marquise Goodwin, he'll make a catch maybe here and there in a game. But now luckily Cole Kmet is kind of getting into that passing game as well, which is going to be nice, because now if Kmet is a threat in the middle of the field, now that safety is if he's playing a robber position or if he's playing a cover 2, he's gonna have to keep an eye on Cole Kmet, because he might have to come down. Now, if he comes down, that opens up over the top in terms of one-on-one coverage, possibly for Mooney or for A-Rob. But I keep saying, like I've been saying it the last couple of off seasons, they're gonna have to infuse some more speed on offense here. Now, I thought they did it with Demir Bird. Goodwin's always been a journeyman kind of guy, but he's got that speed that can always take the top off of defense. So you think that threat would at least give defenders a pause there. But unfortunately, his production has been non-existent, and so has Demir Bird. So that's why I'm like bring up other guys, give other guys opportunities. Let's see what they can do. But you got to get some more threats down the field. If it's just Allen Robinson and Darnell Mooney, and now maybe Cole Kmet, and you're just limited in terms of your offensive firepower, that also can play a part as well. But going back to what Lazor said, those 10-12-yard runs, those are fine too. So just continue running the ball, and I'll continue working off of that run rushing attack, play action, all that stuff. Do some rollouts, do some RPOs, just mix it up a little bit. and then utilize what you got. Put your players in position to succeed. That's what I've been saying all year is take your talents of your receivers that you have now. Unfortunately right now, just two that are really just productive, and use those guys, put them in position to go ahead and be successful down the field.
Before we get to the touchdown play to analyze, I'm gonna digress here and ask you a trivia question.
Oh, trivia! I suck at trivia.
Yeah, I know you do, but try anyway. What is the worst franchise in the NFL? You have 5 seconds.
The worst franchise in the NFL currently?
Yes.
Texans?
Nope. Don Burr has it correct. Detroit. All right, we move on. That's just.
But they play tough, man. I'm telling you that Matt Campbell's got him playing. It's not Matt Campbell. Dan Campbell. He's got him playing tough, man. So that's one thing. In 2 weeks the Bears will see them, but it's not gonna be a cakewalk. They might not win, but they're gonna play tough.
That you're almost echoing the exact same words that Greg Gabriel said. He said, I think the Bears are going to win at home against Baltimore, but going to have some problems in Detroit 4 days later on Thanksgiving Day. So anyways, back to our tape review. Let's take a look at the touchdown play.
Right. So there's a couple of different things I want to look at here on a touchdown, guys. First of all, let's take a look at Fields. Again, that play clock in his head. He knows now that he's got to be able to make a play here. All right. So goes in, sees the pocket kind of collapsing here, goes ahead and finds his little escape hatch. Does a nice job of knowing where to get out of that pressure, get away from that pressure, goes in and gets it. Now, here, this is where I'm talking about the connection him and Mooney have. Mooney sees him coming out of that pocket. Mooney knows now he's got to get down and get open for him. And he's looking at Fields, and he knows that Fields now sees Mooney has that outside, basically the outside leverage to the, from that middle of that, from where he's at by defender to the outside of the end zone. And what a nice job here with Fields does is he recognizes it. He does a nice job of obviously first escaping, getting himself his shoulder square to his target, and then being able to just kind of flick it and put it in a spot on the run. Okay, a jump pass here, right? Look at that arm angle. Look at the way he just kind of flicks it, puts it to a spot with accuracy, point, touch, touch point. Those are special throws, guys. Those are what I'm telling you. When you see Fields play, he makes special types of throws, and that's one of them right there. On the run, on the road, hostile environment, you're a rookie quarterback. To make that kind of throw right there, that's got to get you excited if you're a Bears fan. That got me excited when I saw that play right there. Again, just the mechanics, turning his shoulders, cognizant of that, and then just the accuracy, the arm strength to be able to kind of look at it, jump, throw, flings it to the side. Look at that right there. Only Mooney has a play on that football. No one else can touch that football.
Yep, I agree with the fact that he says that's like a shortstop baseball throw,
and that's why I like quarterbacks that have that baseball background. I when we go to the Senior Bowl, if I know a quarterback has had baseball background, I ask them, where'd you play? Did you play outfield? Did you play infield? Preferably, you want the guys to play in the infield because they do a lot of those double plays at second base, be able to turn double plays, so the different arm angles and all that stuff. So here, perfect example, arm angle, easy flick of the wrist, accurate. Only Mooney has an opportunity to get that football. It's not thrown up for grabs where a defender can get his hands on it, intercept it, or tip it up in the air, bat it up in the air, and then the safety comes over and makes a pick on it. Perfect throw, special type of throw right there. Again, just the cognizance to be able to get away from the pressure, get out, find Mooney, and now him and Mooney being on the same page to be able to get downfield and get that touchdown there. That was a huge play. I think this go down is one of the better plays in Justin Fields, hopefully, bright future.
Does it bother you when people say, "Oh, he should have ate more time off the clock"? I'm like, no. There's no guaranteed score. No. You got to score, man.
You got to score, man. And yeah, even if you hit that 1-2 A-route where you missed it, where he was wide open on the field, that's a score. You go up. That's what you're trying to do, right? No, I don't believe in that. He did a great job there. Got the ball. Now it's a defense's turn. Remember, there's 3 phases on this team, right? Defense, offense, and special teams. Now defense, go and stop them and get the ball back from the Steelers. And unfortunately, they couldn't do that. If we could run that play again from the end zone angle, I do want to show a couple things, a good thing and a bad thing about the offensive line. We talked about earlier, the reason why Fields had to go ahead and
this is wrong. Sorry.
Yeah, one of the reasons why the Fields had to go ahead and get out of there is because Sam Mustipher, your guy, was being bulldozed, and just to be fair to him, he wasn't alone. Cody Whitehair was getting pushed back too by Hayward, so that was something that he had to kind of he felt the pressure coming up in his face and was able to go ahead and get away. The other thing is the positive, if we have the end zone angle, is Larry Borum here. That's what I'm talking about for a rookie. So, 95 and Watt are going to, that's Chris Wormley and TJ Watt are going to run a loop. You're going to see here, he's going to go ahead and pass Watt into his guard, James Daniels, and he picks up Wormley. For a rookie, that's what I like to see a guy in pass protection have awareness, to be able to go pass your guy off into your guard, kind of holds him. If you see, he's got his hand on Watt's shoulder, kind of walks him right into James Daniels. Hey, you grab him. I'm going to go ahead and bust off, and I'm going to grab this guy coming around here on the edge. That's a positive play for Larry Borum. That's something that I really like seeing with him doing that.
Yep. And what do you think, getting back to Mustipher here, did he just lose his balance here? Because it looks like it's...
In fairness, Cam Hayward is an all-pro defensive lineman. So, I mean, he's done that to a lot of players. But, yeah, I mean, just, he pads are up, loses his balance, has no leverage. Now he gets to walk back into the quarterback. And then, Whitehair's there to kind of hold him off a little bit there. Right. But yeah, but I see Mustipher's on his rear end there. He's just kind of being pushed back. So, I think that's what people who don't like Sam Mustipher are point to in terms of, they see a lot of times that he's going to kind of bulldoze backwards. He's on his ass a lot. But again, that's not his strength. And we've kind of gone over this, you and I, that's not his strength. His strength is being able to be, a mobile up blocker, moving, sideline or left and right, be able to slide, kick slide, and be able to reach that second level, linebacker and being able to, hold on and sustain those second level blocks to kind of give those running backs an extra, a blocker down the field too. So that's his strength. One-on-one versus, big, powerful defensive lineman. That is not his strength.
Mule says that Daniels has the highest amount of given up sacks on the Bears offensive line. Actually, I think it's Justin Peters with 4. And I believe, I'm trying to remember, I believe Daniels has 3. Ifedi had 4 also, which is a lot given that he's missed a lot.
He played like 3-4 games.
Yeah, I think.
So, but I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Jermaine Ifedi should not be on the field unless someone gets hurt. That's what and Mule, you're right, Mule. Hayward is a freaking beast. So, he's done it to a lot of offensive linemen. So, giving Mustipher some credit there. But the thing is, like, bigger, powerful guys at the point of attack, Dominican Sue, Aaron Donald, those guys, they give Mustipher that problem when they go ahead and just, bull rush him and kind of drive him back. So, again, that wasn't his game coming out of Notre Dame. That hasn't been his game here at the next level. So, if you're looking to say, all right, they can improve at center, sure, they can improve in center. They can probably get better. But I think Mustipher has done a solid job overall in terms of, just it being a solid starter.
Yeah, I can think of a lot worse centers that are in the NFL and that the Bears have had. Hronis Garasu was one of the worst.
He was similar. He was an athletic guy. Made more for that zone scheme, a guy that can move on his feet and block on his feet, block laterally, but not a power guy, not a guy at the point of attack. And Grasu, ended up getting cut here. He ended up, I forgot which team picked him up, and he ended up playing for a couple of seasons as well. So he wasn't a total washout bust. He was a bust with the Bears, but not entirely in his NFL career. So it just, again, being put in a situation where you are put in a scheme that it suits your skills and allows you to go ahead and succeed is what it's critical for these guys. So that's why, looking at how Juan Castillo likes to run his offensive line, he likes to have athletic guys on the inside, guys that can move, like I said, laterally, guys that can get to the next level. So that's why when scouting these interior offensive linemen, the big road graders, the big powerful guys, like I remember last year, the Georgia Bulldogs had Ben Cleveland. Right, he's a guy that was a big, brute, powerful guy, but a guy that doesn't really have any much, athletic ability to be able to shuffle and get to that next level. So he went to a team like the Baltimore Ravens that run more of that power scheme where they get their guys. They want their guys up front to kind of bulldoze guys off their spots and just kind of push them backwards. And that you'll see him probably playing this week unless he's hurt with the Ravens. But I think a guy like that, for example, wouldn't fit here with the Bears because he's more of a power gap scheme guy as opposed to a zone scheme guy.
Right. All right. One of the things in this game that I was really impressed with Justin Fields was his accuracy in those tight window throws. Mm-hmm. And Jason Leisure asked Bill Lazor a question, and he said that statistically, the analytics say that Justin Fields is among the most aggressive passers and into throwing into tight windows. And so Leisure asked Laser, how do you balance that by telling him go for it on those tight windows, but also, you got to be careful you don't turn it over? And this was Bill Laser's response to that.
You want to minimize the turnovers, right? If you have a better chance of winning the game if you have 0 turnovers. If you go the year with 0 turnovers, you probably don't have enough big plays either. So there's that balance. You want an aggressive player. You can't play cautious. So there is that balance. And I think when a guy comes in to the league, or when you first start coaching a guy, you have to find where is he on that scale, on that spectrum of being aggressive and being too cautious. And then you just kind of work it and tweak it, and you work with them. And there's no one simple answer to it. The fact that a rookie will make the throws when guys are covered, to me, is a positive, and it helps you get more big plays. And I know we've talked about it in here on other Thursdays. We need more big plays, so we need him to make the throws. And some weeks you play against zone teams where there aren't going to be as many of those. I mean, the windows maybe are tight, but it's different than you play man teams, and you're going to have guys. Guys are going to be NFL open at the most. You don't expect them to be open. So I'm encouraged that he'll make the throws, that he's not hesitant, that he understands what it's going to look like when it's time to pull the trigger. And I think it's only going to get better. And as he plays with the same guys over and over, he'll also learn from them. What does it look like when this receiver is matched up one-on-one with the corner and is going deep, and I can throw it out the other side? Some of that is just being with the guys too.
I thought that was fascinating.
I love Bill Laser. I love watching. I'd rather watch Bill Laser talk than Matt Nagy any day of the week. Yep. And he did a perfect job there of just kind of talking about it. And that's exactly what I've been saying as well. Is Justin Fields, he's got the arm strength to be able to get that ball into tight windows. But the thing he's got to understand is this is not Ohio State. This is not college. Your receivers aren't going to be wide open. The windows are going to be so small. And what's the one thing is what happens is when the receiver, if you're seeing one of the numbers towards you and he's open, that means he's NFL open, like Laser's called it. There could be a defender on him. Allen Robinson, we just talked about it. He's not a guy that creates huge passing windows. Doesn't get a lot of separation, right? But if you see one of his numbers, if you're Justin Fields and you see one of his numbers open to you, he's open. And any shade of his jersey is open, he's open. But the thing with Fields is he's got that accuracy to be able to put it in a spot where only Allen Robinson gets to it. Now, if you're a quarterback that doesn't have that type of accuracy, what happens there? The defender's on your receiver. Either A, he gets his hand on the ball, bats it up in the air, ball's picked off, or he just makes a great play and either it's a PBU or he picks it off himself. So that's why accuracy, being able to throw it to a spot where your receiver can make the catch, only your receiver can make the catch, is key there. So, we saw the one with Cole Kmet, that one in the middle of the field. That was more, he kind of just kind of fit it right into a tight window, into kind of basically just threw it right into the gut of Cole Kmet. He kind of used that to go ahead and wrap up the ball and get a catch. We talked about right now the touchdown pass to Darnell Mooney. That was some of a tight window, but Mooney was able to go ahead and maneuver himself and get some position between him and that end zone sideline. And then again, Fields on the run, jump pass, whips his sidearm to a spot where only Mooney can make the pay. That's to me is a potential tight window throw, special kind of throw that I've talked about before that I like to see Justin Fields make, and he has made over his career. So yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is like NFL open is a great phrase that Bill Laser used. These receivers they're not going to be huge separations, but just got to have that accuracy to put the ball in that spot where only your receiver can get to it.
All right. I have asked people if they've got questions, and of course they do for you, Danny. One of the questions is a topic that we've already talked about, but because I'm such an admirer of Matthew's last name, for cheesy. He said he's asking, did you talk about Larry Borum yet? He wants to know your thoughts on Larry Borum. So can you review for us your thoughts on Mr. Borum?
Yeah, Matthew, for me, any rookie offensive lineman, if I'm watching the game live and I don't hear their name being called out by the referee for a penalty, that to me tells me they had a good game. Now, I went back and I watched a couple of Borum's games, and for me, I think he's doing a solid job, especially for a guy just kind of thrust it in there. Really, he moved from right tackle to left tackle and inside the guard and all that stuff. But now he's playing right tackle, and I think for me, he's not perfect, right? We see a couple times that when you watch the tape, he gets beaten by speed off the edge. TJ Watt beat him a couple of times. But luckily, as I talked about earlier, either the ball Fields got rid of the ball quickly, or that the actual play was going away from TJ Watt, so it wasn't a non-factor. So, but there's a couple of things that I like about him. I talked about right now in that touchdown play, the pass pro awareness, the ability to go ahead for a young guy to be able to, take his man, move him into his guard, pass him off to his guard, and then be able to pick up the looping defender. A lot of times, these offensive linemen struggle with that, especially rookie guys, because of the speed of these guys. Not only are they bigger and stronger, they're faster as well than what they're accustomed to seeing in college. So, that was, to me, was a positive, a plus there. There's times where, he's losing his balance, trying to get to a set spot on the outside on Watt, and he just kind of lunges and just kind of gets an arm or a hand on him, just kind of pushes him, throws him off track a little bit. It looks bad on tape because he's flailing on his side as he's kind of pushing Watt, but that little nudge gives Watt that time, or slows Watt down enough to give the quarterback enough time to go get rid of that football. So, so it's again, just like with Fields, he's a rookie. He's going to get better, I think. The weight loss definitely from Missouri to what he has now has definitely helped him, I think. Obviously, I think as he gets more progressed in his career, he's going to have to get stronger, maybe drop a little bit some of that bad fat, put on some good muscle fat, and just be more stout, if you will, at the point of attack. But I think, he's playing a position right now at right tackle where I had him coming into a league, possibly at right tackle or a guard. So I like to leave him there. Like I said, I don't want to see Germain Ifedi on the field unless there's God forbid, an injury. Germain Ifedi should be on the sidelines as a backup if he's healthy to play. He should not regain his starting position when he comes back. I think Borum has shown enough, for me at least, at right tackle to go in and go with that kid there at right tackle.
One of the things about Borum that I find really interesting is that he did transform his body from the time that you watched that tape of him in college to the time he showed up at Hallis Hall. He lost fat and gained muscle, and it's a process. He's going to continue to do that. But I do think that has probably helped him be a better NFL tackle than perhaps many of us projected.
Right. I mean, we broke down the selection when it was made. I showed you the tape of him trying to come out and pull, and it just looked sluggish. It wasn't a guy that was just, flying out of his stance. He wasn't a guy that was explosive out of his stance. But now, he's not, the most explosive guy, but he looks slimmer. He looks like a guy that's able to go ahead and at least get to a set spot at a decent rate. And then, like I said, my main thing is keep yourself in between the defender and you quarterback. If you can do that, you can protect from me. You can pass protect from me too. So, he's a guy, like, again, just going to I think he's going to get better and better. I agree with you that the weight loss has helped him. He looks a little bit, like I said, leaner, a little more athletic, a little more spring in his step, if you will. So, I think now he's got to get that core strength going there. The key with offensive linemen and defense linemen to extend as well is their lower body, their core strength and their lower leg body, because that's where they drive off the football. That's where they, if they have the agility to be able to get to a set spot and get, like I said, in position, shoulder square to your pass rusher, and be able to extend your arms. And again, hands is also an issue with him as well. He doesn't always get his arms extended, and sometimes allows the defender to get into his chest, with then causes him to lose leverage because the defender gets into his chest plate, walks him back a little bit, and that's where that core muscle will come in. The leg muscle, lower body muscle will go ahead and help him re-anchor and kind of just maybe offset and, again, combat that defensive lineman's ability to get into his chest by, reshuffling his feet, setting a nice wide base, and using some of that lower body power to go ahead and just kind of be stout there, stop the pass rusher for 1 or 2 seconds at least, give your quarterback a time to either get rid of the football or get out of the pocket.
Alex is already looking forward to free agency, and so he wants to know your opinion on Chris Godwin and Christian Kirk. What do you think about trying to target those guys in free agency?
For me, I think Godwin's is gonna break the bank, and I think if the Bears aren't willing to pay Allen Robinson, a guy that they've had in their their system for the last 3-4 years, although if they're not willing to pay him that type of money, I don't know if they're gonna give Chris Godwin, someone from the outside of the organization, that type of money. Godwin is a little bit younger, maybe a little bit faster than Allen Robinson, but I think for me, is if you're gonna bring in a guy like Chris Godwin, I might as well just pay Allen Robinson, might be even less money, shorter amount of years, then go ahead and get someone like Chris Godwin who's gonna break the bank. And I think that the Bears cap situation, we've kind of gone over it, guys. They're really in a bad situation. I don't think they can go out there and make a big free agent splash at receiver like that. Now I know with NFL you can always create cap space, but then you kind of hurting yourself going down in the future and all that stuff and all that stuff. So Christian Kirk is an interesting guy. He's a guy that to me is a guy that I've been kind of calling for here with the Bears, and I want guys that are quicker, faster, shiftier, and I think when he's gotten the opportunity, of course he's got DeAndre Hopkins and he's got AJ Green down there in Arizona, but when he's gotten the opportunity to be a number 2, he's produced. And I know because I have him on my fantasy football team. So I know when he given the opportunity, that the guy can make plays. So he's a guy I'd be more interested in maybe kind of taking a look at here. Hopefully, obviously, I think he'd be a little bit cheaper, much cheaper than a Chris Godwin. So that's more of a guy that I can look at here too. So, but again, you want to see who your core is going to be. Are you going to keep Allen Robinson or is Allen Robinson gone? If Allen Robinson's gone, you're going to have to replace that guy on the outside. So you're going to have to bring a guy that's at least 6'1", 6'2", a guy that's not going to be able to stretch the field, but a guy that Justin Fields can rely on to be a reliable pass catcher. And then you obviously have Mooney on the outside with some speed. But then I want a guy in the inside in terms of some shiftiness, like a Kirk, or maybe probably get someone else here as well. Guys that give you some of that more agility, that elusiveness, if you will, in the middle of the field. Guys that can get the ball into their hands quickly, let them do some more, stuff on their own once they got the football in their hands. So, obviously the draft, guys, is always loaded in terms of the receiver position as well. So I think that's going to be an area in which the Bears are going to be heavily looking at as well. I've have it down as one of my priorities in terms of looking ahead here to the draft as a receiver. Obviously, if you get a guy at 6'1", that can run a 4.3 40 and go up and make plays in the air, that's the perfect guy. But if not, look at these guys like Kirk and guys who are like 5'9", 5'10", quicker, shiftier, get the ball in their hands and let them do their thing.
Alex wants to know, do you re-sign James Daniels? His contract is up at the end of the season. What are your thoughts on the big former second round draft pick out of Iowa?
I'm a Daniels fan. I know you guys ran off that stat in terms of he's given up 3 sacks, but I just think the guy's been playing out of position. He came in as a center. That's where I have him. I think that's his best position is center. Then he was shifted out to left guard last year, where I think last year before he got hurt, he was probably the best offensive lineman on the team last year before he got hurt at left guard. And of course, this year they went and shifted him inside the right guard. So I think if you tell the kid to go out, you're going to play center and you're going to stay at center, I think has a chance to be, a heck of a center for, 10, 12 years going forward. So me personally, I would like to see James Daniels play at center, and I'd like to see you, fortify. Now, Tevin Jenkins is coming back. I'm not sure how much I expect from Tevin Jenkins this year. That back surgery is not something to kind of look over. This guy hasn't been able to work out. He hasn't been able to, we talk about, building up that lower body strength, that core strength. He can't do that kind of stuff with a back injury. So, that's something that, I would temper expectation now for Tevin Jenkins, but he's a guy that coming out of the last year's draft, you guys all know how I felt about them moving up and getting him. I saw him more as a right tackle, possibly inside his guard. A lot of scouts told me that they see him inside his guard as well. So if he's a guy, if Bourne, takes over and commands that right tackle position, if you put Tevin Jenkins at right guard, put Daniels over at center, and now you have Whitehair and whoever you're going to draft or bring in at left tackle, I think that's more of a formidable offensive line there.
Yeah. The cool thing, for instance, if you had Borum at right tackle and you move Jenkins to the right guard, you're talking about right side of the line that, according to the press clippings, that would be a nasty, nasty duo there on the right side. These guys are
assuming they're healthy, right? Assuming they're healthy, they're all
assuming they meet expectations. The expectations that the Bears have tried to sell on us. So, because those guys, were drafted in part because Juan Castillo wants nasty offensive linemen. Those guys have a nasty streak. So it would be kind of nice to see both of them on that right side of the line, particularly because that's where most of the running plays go to. Next question here is from, this is a good one. Greg Gabriel talked about this too. He reluctantly gave Duke Shelley some credit today, saying he's been playing well. And Matthew, your opinion on Duke Shelley the past few games?
Yeah, I think Shelley does play well. I mean, I think you see less blown coverages, or you see his guy less open, if you will. I've always thought he was a guy that for a guy that's not the biggest guy out there, he plays physical. In terms of as a run defender, he's a guy that will come up and stick you in the open field, and looks to be a guy that's a solid open field tackler as well. So I think he's a guy that has kind of like taken over that nickel position for now, if you will. So yeah, definitely that's a good point there, Matthew. That's a nice call. Where Duke Shelley is a guy that we haven't talked about here a lot, but he has made some nice progress, I think, over the last couple of weeks at least. So for sure, yeah, that's a good call. You're on mute, although I can't hear you.
I don't do that often, but when I do, I really kick myself in the ass, man. I'll be drinking tonight. I'm just kidding. Let's see. Scrolling down for the next question because I lost my place. This is an interesting question. I'm not quite sure I understand it. Would Danny stay in dime versus lame R? Do you understand what
Lamar?
Lamar, of course. What do you think about that?
Well, this is what I went and I took a look at what the Dolphins did to the Ravens last week, right? And what the Dolphins did was really just basically put 7 guys up at the line of scrimmage, sometimes 8, and play a single high safety and play man-to-man coverage on the outside, right? And they basically boxed in Lamar Jackson. He was able to get out, get free, get loose, and they kind of contained them because really, we were talking earlier, although the Ravens, the only threat on offense is Lamar Jackson, and then their tight end Andrews. Outside their receivers, Sammy Watkins and maybe Marquise Hollywood Brown may make a play here and there, but they've really been disappointments, right? They have high hopes for Rashard Bateman, the rookie, the kid out of Minnesota. So we'll see, but he's still a rookie. I think it's the second or third game. He came back from an injury. I saw him listed on the injury report for them today as well. So we'll see how he develops. But I mean, but the thing is for the Bears, if you're Sean Desai, do you trust your corners on the outside to be able to play one-on-one lockdown and play a single high safety, especially if Eddie Jackson's not out there? So if Eddie Jackson's not out there, and let's assume it's DHC playing a single high safety. Now you got Jalen Johnson and Kendall Wilder on the outside playing one-on-one. You have 7 or 8 guys in the box to be able to go ahead and control Lamar and kind of pit him inside, do what the Dolphins did. So maybe you run a couple of those kind of defensive fronts in a couple situations and just kind of drop back now and play coverage. The only thing is if you drop back and play zone, a reason why a lot of people like to play zone against Lamar Jackson is because they're all the defensive backs are looking at the quarterback. They're not running man-to-man down the field with the receiver. So that's why a lot of teams prefer to play zone. But he's been tearing everybody up in terms of zone because he'll be holds onto the ball and he's elusive with the football, like an extra running back out there, if you will. So that's the one thing is I'm curious to see what Sean Desai does here and how he plays. The Ravens. Does he go with the Dolphins, script there in terms of how to stop him and that Ravens offense? Because they did a great job against the Ravens last week. So, does he go there? Does he play, dime? Does he play nickel packages and just hope his guys up front can go ahead and kind of control the line of scrimmage? So we'll see. Or does he mix it up a little bit? What's one of those back and forth coaching chess matches I'm going to see, with Greg Roman, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, versus Sean Desai, the young and up and coming defensive coordinator for the Bears.
Sean Desai was asked about man-to-man coverage versus Lamar. Let's take a listen at that press conference today.
You guys have played more man coverage this season than you did last year. Is that tricky against a guy like him if you're asking your cornerbacks to turn their backs to him?
It can be, but you look at the Dolphins game. That's all they played, and they had some success versus that. So, the scheme stuff I've told you guys, right? That's half the battle, right? And getting the guys in position, that's my half of the battle. I got to make sure our guys know that and execute that. And then the execution's the other half. You got to win one-on-ones in this league, whether it's a zone one-on-one or a man one-on-one.
He's got more to say, but as soon as he said that, Danny, I thought about you because 2 weeks ago when we did our tape about, on the 49ers game, you kept pointing out over and over again, guys weren't winning the one-on-one battles.
Right. And that's and all starts up front, right? Up front, like he just said right now. He said, "Yeah, you can play man on him on the receivers because, like I said, the receivers don't scare you, but it's just a matter of guys up front winning, right? So if you put 7 guys in the box or 8 guys in the box, if they're not, you have, theoretically, you have 1 or 2 extra defenders there in that line at the line of scrimmage. You should be able to stop them, but you got to win you have to execute your assignments. You got to be able to win your one-on-ones. You got to be able to get them. If you're one-on-one with Lamar Jackson in the open field, if you're a defender, he can probably shake you and he can break down, any defender in the open field and get some yards after that. So again, you got to be able to secure that tackle, bring him down. But yeah, that's exactly what we were just talking about. The Dolphins played predominantly. They played man coverage with a single high safety. Like I said, they put 7, sometimes 8 guys in the box and just said, "We dare you guys to go ahead and try and beat us with these 8 guys here."
He's got a little bit more here.
At some point, you're going to get isolated. And at some point, we're going to get isolated versus Lamar Jackson in the open field and versus their running backs in the open field. And we got to make tackles. We got to get the guys down. We got to swarm to the ball. We got to have that type of relentless mentality and that pursuit. And when we get a blocker on us, we got to be physical. And we got to get off blocks and make plays.
There you go.
Yeah, he just said it right now. Open field, you got to make a tackle. You got to do it because even if you have, he's going to break free. He's a great athlete. He's going to break free away from that pile of all those guys. And if you're a defender at the line of scrimmage and you have one-on-one in the open field, you just got to execute. You got to break down. You got to square your shoulders, and you got to wrap them up and bring them down to the ground. If not, he's going to be able to beat you guys downfield as well. So he's a tricky guy to play because of how elusive he is as a quarterback. But I think the Dolphins, gave the Psy and the Bears a good blueprint in terms of how you can attack them. Again, the main guy here on offense is Lamar Jackson and Andrews, the tight end. If anyone else beats you, I'll be shocked on that Ravens offense.
Bear Truth 9 wants to know if you spotted any centers who could be found in the 2nd or 3rd round in this upcoming draft that could be a plug and play center. And I got to tell you, I read this is maybe 2-3 weeks ago, that this is not a great draft for centers, that we may not even see one drafted until day 3. I read an article. I forgot who wrote it. I'd like to give that person blame or credit. But any thoughts? Have you spotted any centers?
I haven't seen any centers. I've seen there's a kid from Boston College, Zion Johnson. He's a guard. He started his career as a tackle. He's moved inside to guard. He's played some center. That some scouts I've said that they probably see him as best position is center inside. He's a guy that's gonna that late 1st, early 2nd round so far. They're talking about him there, but I think a lot of them see him as starting him off as guard and as a fallback position, possibly center. But I haven't really delved deep into the center position. I've been looking at offensive linemen in terms of tackles and guards, because I think that's what you really need. Because again, I think we have a center here in James Daniels. I understand he's a free agent, but I think he's a guy that they should probably try and retain and re-sign, trying to keep that cohesiveness along that offensive line. I think is going to be key. But the other thing is we have to think about is if there's a coaching change here, what's going to be the scheme here? Is it going to be a whole different scheme? Are they going to bring in an offensive coordinator that's going to run, or they're going to want a more of a power gap, offense? Is going to want guys up front that are going to be more physical. Does James Daniels then fit that scheme? So it's a lot of questions that we have to have answered here from now until the draft. But in terms of just to this particular question here, I haven't really seen much in terms of centers that really stick out to me.
Hold on. Now I'm back. Can you?
Yeah,
hear me?
there you are. Yeah, there you was there for a second.
Yeah, my internet gave out there for a second. All right. Beth has a question. She wants to know who are the up and coming players on defense that you see the Bears should keep when this year is over?
Well, obviously, I think Roquan Smith, I've been on here week in and week out and just kind of singing his praises. He had a rough game against the 49ers, but again, we talked about it. The whole defensive front had a rough game against the 49ers. So I think Roquan Smith, again, last week, he was all over the football field. I think 12 tackles, led the team again. He's a guy that I think they need to, get locked up long term. In terms of up front, obviously, Travis Gibson has shown us some promise as a pass rusher on the outside. He's a guy that's got bulked up this year. He's already had like 3, I think he's got 3 sacks already this year. So, but he's not consistent, and I want to see some more consistency from him as well. In terms of young guys, we talked about Jalen Johnson earlier in the year. I think he was on his way to developing and becoming a number 1 corner. Has had some bumps here in the road with some of his play here lately. So I think that's a guy, but definitely still have a lot of high hopes for Jalen Johnson developing into a really good cornerback for the Bears. Kendall Vildor is a guy that I like coming out of Georgia State. We saw him at the Senior Bowl. You and we've talked about him. I think he's a guy that also has been picked on here a little bit, but I think I like his feistiness. I like his ability, his quick twitch ability in terms of playing that corner. He might be better suited eventually to move inside to a slot corner.
I was thinking
Once they get their offside, the second outside corner to go opposite Jalen Johnson, they could probably kick him inside, and he'll probably be a little bit better there because he's a little more smaller corner, quicker, a little bit more twitchier, can kind of probably stay in phase with those slot receivers better than some of these outside guys that really, when he's gotten beaten, it's just guys that are bigger than him. Guys
like Claypool in that touchdown.
Claypool, the tight end Freiermuth as well. Just
that's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Bigger guy. We've seen guys like Donovan Peoples-Jones. He's a 6'1", 6'2" receiver. Beat him downfield as well. So the bigger body receivers give him problems because physically he's not big enough to go out and match those guys. But I think eventually getting him inside slot corner, once you have a second outside corner opposite of Jalen, I think that's where he's probably going to go ahead and succeed. So, those are some of the guys that, DeAndre Houston-Carson, I've been a huge fan of this kid. I've been saying this guy needs to get more snaps on defense. Unfortunately, it took an injury to Eddie Jackson to Gibson earlier, Tayshaun Gibson, from to start seeing more action. Hopefully now, once Eddie Jackson is back, I hope to keep, DeAndre Houston-Carson out there opposite of Eddie Jackson, because I think, the guy makes plays. So, so those are some of the players off the top of my head on defense that I've seen. Obviously, Eddie Goldman, I think, is a guy that is still relatively young, has had, some up and downs in terms of the games. But last week was the Eddie Goldman that we all have anticipated, and we all expected to see this season. So just dominating. Now, again, he was picking on a rookie center. All right, a guy from Illinois, and the kid Green from Illinois. So he was kind of bench pressing him into the backfield. I think I tweeted out during the game that Eddie Goldman has been in the Steelers' backfield so long they should probably play Brent. That's how he was dominant in terms of that controlling that line of scrimmage. So I still have high hopes for Goldman going here towards the future.
Lightworks asks, does Danny think Jenkins will get some playing time this season? And I'd like to add that Brad Biggs wrote a really good article in his Q&A column in the middle of this week, and he mentioned, that Jenkins is going to have a tough road ahead because there aren't that many padded practices for him to prove himself. And he hasn't had any padded practices because the last time he practiced was back in the OTAs when they weren't practicing in pads. So this guy, besides, people want him to play left tackle, which is really kind of out of position for him, given his college pedigree, it's going to be very, very difficult. I think the most important thing over these next 3 weeks is to make sure his back is healthy.
Right.
And so you're not throwing him out there with the possibility that you're going to ruin his career and that he won't be able to play next season because he's re-injured that back. But go ahead and address this question, please.
Yeah, for me, like I said, my expectations of him right now are very minimal in terms of coming back and playing the season, because, like I said, that back is something you do not want to mess with, right? That's a huge. There is no such thing as a minor back surgery. Back surgery, any kind of back surgery is huge. It's a major deal. So the thing with him is, obviously, he hasn't been able to work on his core strength. He hasn't been able to work on his lower body because of the he's rehabbing that surgery from the surgery. So that's the one thing I want to see. I want to see is he still squatting what he was prior to getting hurt? Is he still benching what he was prior to getting hurt? Does he still have that physical strength to be able to maintain at the point of attack? Because if you put him out there and he gets run over or he gets re-injured again because he's not physically up to being able to protect himself, that's a concern. And you don't want to ruin this kid's future, right? So, just because I don't see him as a left tackle doesn't mean he can't play a right tackle, right guard, or right tackle, or some other position along the offensive line. So maybe even left guard, who knows? But, this is a guy that you invested heavily in terms of, draft capital. You went up and traded for him. He's a guy that his future is going to be something that you need to protect. And if he's not there physically, from the body, in terms of lower body strength, in terms of core strength, I can't see him feasibly being there right now to be able to go up there and play against NFL competition. Again, I don't know what his rehab assignments were. I don't know what the program he was on, but that's the main thing for me is physically, can he compete at the point of attack versus NFL defensive lineman? Are we putting him out there with a risk of him re-injuring himself more severely than he was, previously? How strong is he? That's one thing I want to see. Now, if he passes all those, tests with flying colors, I would work him in slowly. I would bring him in. I'd make him active. And I would just say, hey, if someone goes down, then I'm not going to give him a starting job over a guy like Jason Peters for sure, who's, like I said, he's 39, and he's just a 1-year contract, but he's a guy that's been playing well. And you got Justin Fields out there. You do not want to put someone who's coming off of back surgery, a guy who's only played 7 starts collegiately at left tackle, and have him get Justin Fields killed. So that's a no for me. Larry Borom, I think, has secured the right tackle. Now we talked about the guards. I think Daniels and Whitehair are guys that are going to play right now ahead of him. So, I don't see where he plays right now other than unless there's an injury, and obviously, first of all, make sure physically he's there, being able to compete.
Ray Rojas, excuse me, Ray. Who is your number 1 pick to be the head coach next year? I'm not going to answer this question because I haven't studied them all yet, but I know you've got a favorite already in mind. Go ahead.
Yeah, so a couple of guys I've been looking at, and one guy that again I just like what he does, and that's Brian Dable from the Buffalo Bills. He's a guy that's been in college. He's been an offensive coordinator under Nick Saban at Alabama. I think he was he was on the Jets staff in New York under Rex Ryan. So he's a guy that's been out there. He's a hot commodity right now. I just like what he does with the Bills. Right, he's a guy that can take his offense and kind of adjust it to the strengths of his players, right? So like, when Josh Allen was still developing into, he's a first, second year quarterback, he used him more as a running quarterback, right? And he kind of limited his ability to get the ball downfield, didn't put him in situations where he was going to hurt himself. And then eventually he got developed into a guy who we see now who's a perennial MVP caliber type of player. And now you put weapons around him. Now you got, guys on the outside in terms of Stephon Diggs and Emmanuel Sanders. And now the Buffalo Bills have a pretty good offense. And I like that. I like a coach that takes his players and puts them in their best situation to go ahead and succeed. It doesn't take an offense, and this is my offense, and you guys have to fit into my offense. No, I'm going to take my offense. I'm going to adjust it to your strengths. That's what I like about Brian Dable. Now, the question, obviously, with all these guys, these are all going to be first-year head coaches, most likely. So, does he command the room? Is he a guy that's, he could be a great offensive coordinator, but he might suck as a head coach. So, will a team follow him? Well, can he be a leader? So that's something you have to vet through the interview process, through your background check on the guy. So, but that's one guy to keep in mind is Brian Dable, offensive coordinator from the Buffalo Bills. Other guy doesn't get a lot of pub, but is this kid, defensive coordinator for the Giants. I think his name is Patrick Graham, if I'm not mistaken. He's a guy, again, defensive coordinator. So the key thing there is who is going to be his offensive coordinator, right? So who's going to run his offense? And again, that's all going to be predicated now. If you're going to bring in a defensive guy, who are you going to bring in here to run your offense, and what kind of system are you going to run, and how are you going to utilize Justin Fields? That's the main thing with him. But he's a guy, he's been with Bill Belichick and the Patriots. He's been, I think, coaching in the league for a number of years. But he's a guy that has the Giants team that doesn't have great talent on defense. They're playing hard and they play well, and they're always well prepared. So he's a guy that to keep an eye on. Graham, the defensive coordinator from the Giants. But again, with him, now he looks like a guy that can lead a football team, that players are going to follow him. But the thing with him is, who is going to be his offensive coordinator, and what plan does he have for Justin Fields, and how is he going to build his offense around Justin Fields? And that's a key question with anybody you bring in that's going to be on the defensive side of the football.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm looking up Graham here. He spent a lot of time at New England as a coach assistant, defensive assistant, linebackers coach, defensive line coach, linebackers coach again, before following Joe Judge over to New York to be his defensive line coach, and then progress on to the assistant head coach and defensive coordinator for the last
They
two
actually,
seasons.
the Jets wanted to interview him last year. He turned him down. He don't want to take the Jets job. So, and another name I can give you from college, from the college ranks. I know college rank coaches are not really, they're kind of frowned upon, but Matt Campbell from Iowa State. He's a guy that's done a hell of a job at Iowa State. Doesn't have the biggest recruits. Obviously, he's second fiddle there to Iowa in terms of getting the guys, to come there. But I think he's a guy that is a head coach material. Got a lot of NFL teams have a lot of interest in him, but he's always just kind of turned him down because he's also waiting for that right opportunity there as well. So Matt Campbell from Iowa State is a guy to keep in mind as well. But again, if you're going to bring in an offensive guy, you got anyone, whether it's a defensive coach, who's his offensive coordinator, what's the plan for Justin Fields? Same thing with an offensive guy, whether it's Dable, Matt Campbell. I saw someone just pop up, Greg Roman here. I'm not a big fan in terms of Greg Roman being a head coach, just because I don't think he's, he can play this system that he plays now with the Ravens is what we saw with the 49ers. So, he hasn't really taken this, this offense and kind of take it to the next level. So, but anyway, either way, what is their plan for Justin Fields? How are they going to build a team around Justin Fields? That's going to be one of the key questions that gets asked in the interview process.
Yep. All right. Last question. I want to do this, and he didn't ask this, but I want to do this for my friend from Detroit, Don Burr. You are the general manager of the Detroit Lions. You have the number 1 overall draft pick in this upcoming draft. Who are you going to draft for the Detroit Lions? And I really need you to
the defensive lineman from Oregon, Kayvon Thibodeau. That guy is going to be a handful. He's a guy that could put his hand in the ground, rush as a traditional 4-3 defensive end. He's a guy that's athletic enough that can stand up in a 2-point stance as an outside linebacker. Kayvon Thibodeau is the guy that I would draft number 1 right now.
Oh wow! So they're stuck with Jared Goff.
Well, don't forget, there's going to be veteran quarterbacks available. There's a Jimmy Garoppolo is going to probably be available. There's going to be, depending on what Philadelphia does, there's going to be a Jalen Hurts possibly available. There's going to be, Deshaun Watson is going to probably be available. There's going to be some veteran quarterbacks that are going to be out there that you could, if you're looking to move on from Jared Goff and improve, then you have a chance to go out there and make a pick. But there's no one in this draft quarterback wise that I would take with the number 1 pick. I've seen people on Twitter talking about, Malik Willis, Matt Corral from Ole Miss. Corral is a guy that's athletic. He's got a nice arm, but he's all over the place in terms of his processing in the pocket. His accuracy is nowhere near for me to be a number 1 pick. Willis, a little bit more an undersized quarterback, but athletic, a guy that gives you some of that wow potential in terms of being able to be a ball carrier, be a dual threat quarterback. But again, coming from Liberty is a kid that's going to need some time to go out and develop. I'm not seeing him as a top of the draft kind of quarterback. So the best quarterback for me right now is kid from Pitt. That's Kenny Pickett. The guy 6'1", 6'2", doesn't have the biggest arm in the draft. So I think he's going to get knocked there. He's not the greatest athlete. These other guys I just named, the Corrals, the Willis, are guys that are going to be more athletic, and they're going to look prettier, if you will. But Pickett runs a pro style system, 3-year starter, and I think is a guy that has a chance to be a pretty good quarterback. Desmond Ridder, the kid from Cincinnati, is another guy that, again, not a top of the draft kind of guy, but a guy that gives you some intrigue there. 6'3", 6'4", a guy who's got dual threat abilities, solid arm strength, a guy that's got to take some time to develop. But again, that's why Neil and I last year on Draft on Tap, we were saying that the Bears, if you were going to go get a quarterback, the last draft was the draft to go get a quarterback. This draft right now, there's some talent out there. There's some guys that intrigue you, but no one that I can say, all right, this guy's going to come in here and be a potential starting quarterback for the next 10, 15 years. So that's why I was so ecstatic when the Bears made that move up to get Justin Fields on the last draft.
By the way, on this morning, I started working very early this morning, 9 a.m., Mike North show. And Mike North reminded me that the Detroit Lions have not won a NFL championship how was it that he put it, that they were still wearing leather helmets with no face masks the last time they won an NFL championship? That's
Yeah,
gotta be rough,
it's
man.
been I don't know what the yeah, I don't know what was it for sure it wasn't Super Bowl. It was just an
No,
NFL
they've
champ,
never
yeah.
won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They've never sniffed a Super Bowl. Didn't they have a Super Bowl at the old Pontiac Stadium? That they hosted a Super Bowl, I believe. That's
Probably, yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Is-
All right. Final question for you is: what are your thoughts about this game against the Ravens? Your expectations for it? Do you think that this is a winnable game, or are you still concerned that we're kind of headed downwards when it comes to wins and losses?
I think they should have won the last two games. So I think this to me is a winnable game. I think this is an opportunity again if you stick to the formula offensively, which is utilize that rushing attack, pound the football. Again, not only do you keep your defense off the field, but more importantly, you keep Lamar Jackson off the field. So and then now I want to see Justin Fields kind of continue to grow here, continue to mature in that passing attack and put some points on the board. You can't be settling for field goals. You got to get when you get in the red zone, you got to put touchdowns on the board. So that's the one thing I'm looking for here. Again, but it's got to be based off of the offensive game plan. It's got to be based off of your rushing attack. So the one thing I was disappointed about last week's game plan or 2 weeks ago against Pittsburgh is Khalil Herbert only got 4 carries, and that's not what I want to see. If you're going to give David Montgomery 16 carries, give Khalil Herbert 10, 11, 12 carries and kind of build him up as well. So you got a 1-2 punch there too. So that's the one thing I want to see. But defensively, we just talked about it. Lamar Jackson and Andrews, a tight end, are the main weapons here. If you can kind of corral those guys and keep them in check, I think defensively you can hold down the Baltimore Ravens offense. And then now offensively now again, convert those field goals instead of putting up field goals. Let's put up some touchdowns on the board. Continue to get Justin Fields outside the pocket. He's shown you the last couple of weeks his ability to get out the pocket, to be able to be a threat as a runner and also as a passer with accurate pinpoint passes on the run, either left or right. So continue to utilize that. Continue to use the play action and continue to kind of strike downfield and make some plays and continue to make Cole Kmet a feature option on offense here because you need more than just Darnell Mooney and A-Rob here. You got to get a third weapon here, and hopefully Kmet and Jesse James is also a guy that I think when he's given an opportunity has made plays in the passing game as well. So get those tight ends incorporated. I love seeing 2-3 tight end sets here when the Bears go to that option. And if you notice, before or when Nagy was running the offense, anytime you saw 2 or 3 tight ends, majority of the time, probably 80-90% of the time, it was a run play. Now they've got pass plays coming off of these 2 or 3 tight end sets, which is what you want to see because now you keep defenses off, on their heels and not showing are they going to run, are they going to pass? And of course, we talked about Justin Fields being comfortable under center, run the play action, has his back turned to the defense, turns around 1, 2, 3, bam, gets rid of the football. So build off of that, and then I think if you put points on the board defensively, if you can just control Lamar Jackson, I think you can win this game. So yes, to answer your question, it was a long-winded answer, but yes, I think the Bears can win this game.
Well, and Lamar Jackson has missed practice the last 2 days because of illness, and they're not really giving many details on what specifically he's sick from. They are saying it's a non-COVID related sickness, but
he's had that before though. He's had 2 or 3 weeks prior to this where he's missed practice because of just illness. And now I think this week, today's report, they had like 3 or 4 players on there missing practice because of illness. So maybe there's a bug going on within the team, a flu or something like that. Who knows? But yeah, he's missed practice before because of illness. But he ends up showing up on game day and playing. So I wouldn't count him out.
Yeah, and by the way, the Ravens are 3-0 when Jackson has missed 1 or 2 practices during the week, so it hasn't really hurt them. Don wants to know before we get out of here. That wrong one. Don wants to know your thoughts on Jordan Davis, the Georgia defensive tackle.
Yeah, big 6'5", just a space eater in the middle. The guy has really kind of put it together this year at Georgia, and I think he's a guy that. He's going to be a first-round pick, so the Bears have no chance of getting him unless, God forbid, there's some sort of injury and it drops down, out of the first round. But yeah, just a big behemoth of a man. If you look at him in terms of the Bears scheme, he's a guy that can come in and be that Eddie Goldman replacement or possible backup. A guy that can take occupy 2 blockers in the middle of that defensive line and just maul blockers there up front. So and he shows athletic ability to be able to get outside that tackle box and chase down running backs from behind as well. So, one of those guys that just it's a big man, and just kind of when you put him in the middle of a defensive line, he just kind of controls everything.
Very, very, very good. That is our show. You get all this great information for free. But if you do want to help out the Barroom Network, go over to deepdishtees.com. I think the link is below us on our YouTube channel, and buy a Draft on Tap shirt or a Barroom Network hat or whatever. It's Christmas time. Buy stuff, and it'll help us pay the bills around here. Danny, again, you just hit it out of the ballpark. And I will see you on Sunday, because you're going to be on our Bear Football Show with immediate reaction after the Bears beat the Ravens. What do you say, brother?
Yeah, looking forward to it. Hopefully we're talking about a Bears victory. Hopefully we talk about Justin Fields taking another progression in his career, getting better. So yeah, let's go out there. The one thing with Matt Nagy, and I'm kind of like, I'm not sure if I don't like him. I do like him. I know I don't like him as a play caller. I don't know about the head coach there, but this is the third season in a row where he's had 4 or more game losing streaks. You just can't do that in the NFL. I think last year was 5, and then the year before was either 4 or 5 again. So you just can't have these consecutive losing streaks. And he's got a 4-game losing streak now. These for me are must wins. If you're a Bears coach or organization, you got to win these 2 games to get yourself back into playoff contention. Because if you lose these 2 games, you're done. And now you're looking forward to next season.
All right. With that, we will say goodbye. We'll see you Sunday. And by the way, there's tons. I did 4 shows today. So, and then I think three yesterday. So there's tons of stuff to watch on demand. And
multiple languages too now. We got Spanish too now.
Oh my goodness. Sí. Si habla español, ¿cómo se dice en español? El programa The Bears Previa. And I've forgotten the lady's name, but she knows her football, and her Spanish is much, much better than mine. It's a 3 or 4 minute report that is up on our YouTube channel, and you can also find it on our Twitter page, Barroom Network. I should get that off. This is better. Detroit loses to everybody.
Actually, they tied, and that's why it pissed me off, because they tied the Steelers, and they should have. That's why the Bears should have beat the Steelers. But
I know that is frustrating. But that Spanish show, the first episode is out, and so if you know anyone that likes football and prefers to listen to stuff in Spanish, that's the show. We'll be doing some ads for it in the near future. So. That's it for today. I am going to finish my drink and hit the bed. You got to go to work tomorrow, right, buddy?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. Have a good day at work, and I'll see you on Sunday, all right?
All right. Good night, guys. Thank you.
Take care, everyone.